Go for it. Hello and welcome to my presentation on viewers' attention span in film. I started off with a hypothesis and just a very basic level of research. I looked at the average shot length throughout the century. So in the 1930s, the average shot length was around 10 seconds, and by 2010 it has dropped to around 3 seconds. Two people have contributed to this, and there's different research. And then I very quickly formed a hypothesis of what I thought was going on. So the transformation of viewer attention spans has directly influenced the increasing reduction in average shot length in films over the last century. So as people's attention spans have become shorter, we have been editing shorter shots to keep people interested. I also expanded on this and looked at the broader effect on the industry and why you should actually care at all. So I was thinking about what effect do other industries have on the reducing attention spans and the evolving shot length? What are the potential financial impacts on the industry? And are there any narrative changes due to the reduction in attention span? So first of all, look at the film industry. Microsoft did a study in 2000 and 2013, and in the year 2000, the average attention span was 12 seconds, and by 2013 it dropped to 8 seconds. And you can see by this panel below that 77% of 18 to 24-year-olds habitually pick up their phone when they've got nothing on their mind. So you can already see a sort of a digital addictive side coming here. And is it a rise and an increase? And then in the middle, we see the number of movies each by year by genre, and the yellow line is action. So it's the most popular, and it's been most popular for a while. But when I come over to the right, we talk about what a film scholar has talked about, and that is motion actually grabs the viewer's attention. So it's logical to assume that action movies with their reduced shot length and increased motion grabs the audience's attention more than other genres. And so is the reason that action is the most popular genre because it grabs the audience's attention more? And is that because we have reduced attention spans? Has that been happening? What's been going on? What role does attention span have to play? We don't know yet. It's a bit fishy, but we'll get into it in a minute. And then I also looked at finance. The inclusion of extra shots must have a marginal increase in the overall cost of the film. However, there are no statistics on this, and it's impossible to distinguish the increase in cost this must cause from the rising cost of film. So that was relatively inconclusive. So I looked at the fundamentals of attention. Contrary to popular belief, attention is fluctuating rather than solid, and updates every 250 milliseconds. So every quarter of a second, humans shift focus from a subject to their environment very quickly. It allows us to stay aware and awake. And it actually turns out that all attention is task dependent. There are two types of attention: transient, short-term response to stimuli that temporarily attracts attention. So that's what we refer to when we talk to attention span primarily. And the average at the moment is 8.25. So that's what Microsoft is measuring. Now, focused attention is something different. It's a level of attention that produces consistent results on a task over time, average of 10 to 20 minutes. However, people can renew their attention and continue to focus on a task, but this requires willpower. So that's what happens when you're doing your homework or you're doing a task or whatever, and your attention wanders and you go look at your phone. That's because 10 to 20 minutes is pretty much all you've got. But you can renew it, and that's what people do. Now look at the fundamentals of addiction. Now this might not seem very clear, but hold on for a second. Dopamine is a neurotransmitter in the brain, and it's the driving force behind all of your actions. So every drug is based on dopamine, and everything you do that feels good is based on dopamine. The feel-good chemical offers positive reinforcement. Yes, the brain is made up of billions of neural pathways. Every time one is used, it becomes stronger and faster. So what that means is, there's a saying that neurons that fire together wire together. So the more you do it, the stronger and more engraved it is in your brain. Now, tasks with heavy dopamine rewards are particularly, strong and well engraved into the brain. So a task that feels good, that you do over and over again, will be engraved in your brain. That's how we learn to do things. That's how we learn to play musical instruments or catch a ball or whatever. It feels good, we enjoy it, we do it over and over again, it gets engraved. So when does an addiction become a habit, or when does a habit become an addiction rather? When a person is unable to control the habit and as a consequence suffers serious negative effects because of this. There are also other biological factors at play with addiction, of course. An addiction such as maintaining homeostasis, there's some biological elements as well, but a fundamental flaw in the brain makes this possible. A big part of addiction is neurology. It's it's a neurological flaw in the brain that allows these addictive stimuli to occur. So in this way, you can become addicted to virtually anything where there is a dopaminergic reward. Precisely what I said. The World Health Organization has recently classified gaming addiction as a disorder. Now, this is important because it talks about people are now recognizing the effect that digital media has on us. Because digital media, as you can become addicted to anything, carries a dopamine weight to it. Is it possible that we are habitually reducing our attention spans by becoming addicted to this dopamine digital age? The World Health Organization seems to think that it's possible. And as well as that, human beings are wired to seek information constantly. So that's how we can get stuck in loops on Facebook, on YouTube, or whatever. It's just part of us. You know, the intelligence doesn't stop, it keeps going. And then I looked at fundamentals of editing to see if this could shed any light on it. And for that, I looked at In the Blink of an Eye by Walter Murch. Quite an interesting book, I recommend it. He talks about the 6 reasons why he makes a cut. And he lists them as emotion, story, rhythm, eye tracing, 2-dimensional plane of screen, a 3-dimensional space of action. Now, obviously, this isn't very helpful. It doesn't help me in any way, but it's still useful. But he does directly mention why he thinks cutting too early is bad. He likens it to total control and that the audience requires a small amount of time for breathing room and exploring the information given before changing shots. Now, a professional editor, he's not talking about attention span. He is talking about cutting too early. He's not talking about cutting too late. So it leads me to think, is there anything in this? Is there anything to it? So that leads me to my conclusion. Like many things, I think it's a multivariant problem. I believe the internet and the instant gratification of the consumer digital age has likely reduced the average transient attention span. That's what Microsoft has reported, and I believe it to be true. However, I do not believe this to be the direct cause behind the drop in shot length. Although there are little records from the time related to attention span, experts say that attention span has always been variable and fallible. A more accurate conclusion that I found was that filmmakers have got better at getting to the point and putting more wow factor into a scene, so they get to the good bits quicker. They chop out the rubbish bits, and that's fundamentally what I learned from A Blink of an Eye. A lot of shot time from early films was wasted as it did not add value to the story. Filmmakers have got better at showing you the important bits and removing the fluff. They have got better at eliciting emotion more impactfully in a shorter period of time. There's also evidence to say that older films have more characters in, and more characters require more screen time. So again, it really is a multivariant problem, or a multivariant issue, or a multivariant, I don't know, it really is multivariant. Due to the increasing ratio of gratifying content to filler content such as quick shots, action scenes and movement, all things that increase audiences' engagement, the audience is more likely to regain their attention if they lose track. So it is true that action movies employ attention-grabbing strategies, but I do not believe that is the single force behind the reduction in shot length. I believe it's more of a trimming out of the bad bits and the filmmakers becoming more disciplined. So, to sum it all off, I don't know. We don't know. It's the field of attention is a science that is fairly new. There's not many scholars looking at this. We don't, and the people who are talking about it don't know yet. But this is my take on it. And thanks very much for listening.